6 innings, 1 earned run. That's a bad day for Shohei Ohtani.
These are the numbers from a day. When he was at his worst, made an error, and put himself in a bases-loaded jam. When Shohei Ohtani is off his game, he's still more terrifying than most pitchers on their best day. 6 innings, 1 earned run. That's the stat line of a man at his absolute worst.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe.
An era that's just unreal.
Today was one of those days where nothing went right. It was bad enough to be one of my worst. Shohei Ohtani rarely opens up like this, but this time he did. His command was shaky. He gave up runs after making an error himself, even loading the bases. And yet, just 1 earned run. That contradiction is what makes him terrifying. This was the April 28th matchup at Dodger Stadium. Marlins versus Dodgers. The Dodgers came in at 20-9, running away with first place in the NL West. For Ohtani, it was his first start of the season on 5 days rest. And on this day, he didn't appear as a designated hitter. He took the mound focused solely on pitching. Even legends were stunned by what he did on the mound. 6 innings, 104 pitches, 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 3 walks, and 9 strikeouts. His ERA rose from 0.38 to 0.60, yet he still holds the best mark in Major League Baseball. The Dodgers lost the game 1-2. They pulled one back in the 8th to make it a 1-run game, but couldn't close the gap. On paper, that's more than enough for an ace. But today, this was clearly not the usual Shohei Ohtani. That wild pickoff throw in the 2nd, and the bases-loaded jam in the 5th. For most pitchers, that's the kind of game where you don't even make it through 5 innings. And yet, he still went 6, struck out 9, and threw a season-high 104 pitches, grinding it out to the very end. Honestly, it's more accurate to say he didn't dominate. He perfectly avoided a complete meltdown. But what stunned the world was this. Why can't this man be broken? The Marlins executed a fascinating game plan in this one. Instead of swinging for the fences against Ohtani, they committed to speed and small ball. Manager Clayton strategy was brilliant. And yet, even with a perfectly executed plan, they managed to score just 2 runs off him. Is that something to admire or something to fare over? What do you think? So why didn't this turn into a blowout, even with everything going wrong? Let's look at Ohtani's pitching data. This season, his fastball averages about 98 miles per hour, while his sweeper sits around 85 miles per hour. A gap of roughly 13 miles per hour. That separation is devastating. He shows you 98. Then suddenly, a pitch 13 miles per hour slower sweeps hard across the zone. Even when his command is off, that combination of velocity and movement still generates whiffs. At that point, it's less about technique and more like a physical safety net built into who he is. And there's another stat that stands out. Through 30 innings this season, Ohtani has allowed 0 home runs. Dodger Stadium is known as one of the more homer-friendly parks in the majors. Yet, he hasn't given up a single one. Even on his worst day, he limits the damage to the absolute minimum. That's not something you learn from experience alone. That's a pitcher's instinct at the highest level. So why is Ohtani able to do this at such an insane level? Let's think about it together. It's because he can completely separate results from the process. That error in the 2nd, the run he gave up in the 5th. In his mind, those moments are already over, filed away as the past. What he's locked in on is always just the next pitch. He's said it in interviews over and over. The only thing he can control is his mechanics on the very next pitch. The fact that he made an error, the fact that he gave up a run, none of that can be changed. So he doesn't spend emotional energy on things he can't control. That speed of resetting. That's what fundamentally separates him from other pitchers. Even many of MLB's elite aces tend to get rattled after giving up runs because of their own mistakes. You'll see it on the mound, grimacing, slamming the Rosenbag, shaking off the catcher more and more. But Ohtani? None of that. No change in expression, no change in behavior. Verlander once made a fascinating point from a pitching design perspective. Ohtani's ground ball rate this season is around 55%. That's extremely high. It means his entire pitching design is built to induce ground balls, even when hitters make contact. And even when they do get the ball in the air, it's controlled to angles that don't turn into extra base hits. In other words, there's a built-in insurance policy for his bad days, embedded directly into his mechanics. Even if his command slips and he leaves a pitch over the plate, it still turns into a ground ball. It didn't become a big hit. That's why it never turns into a fatal blow. So how is Shohei Ohtani able to control his mental state at this level? The answer is simple: his ability to separate. What he can control from what he can't is on a completely different level. So what does he actually control? It's narrowed down to the extreme, just his body mechanics and the quality of the ball. That's why when an error happens, his mind doesn't spiral. There's no, "Why did that happen?" or "The momentum is slipping." None of that extra processing exists. Because his focus is already limited from the start, there's no room for emotions to creep in. And what's even more important, this mindset isn't something he builds during the game. It's something he's trained into himself long before he ever steps on the mound. Whether it's in the bullpen or in a game, his evaluation standard never changes. It's not, "Did I get a good result?" but "Did I execute the movement I intended?" In other words, for Ohtani, a game isn't something special. It's just an extension of his daily routine. That's why pressure doesn't exist for him. Pressure comes from being attached to results. But Ohtani's focus is locked onto execution, not outcomes. So whether it's bases loaded or the ninth inning, what he's doing doesn't change. It's the same as the bullpen. If you go one step deeper, even Ohtani's definition of failure is different from most players. For many pitchers, failure means giving up runs. But for Ohtani, failure is when he loses his repeatability, when he can't reproduce his mechanics. In other words, even if he gets hit, as long as he's executing his form, it's not a failure. That difference in standards is everything. That's why he doesn't fall apart after giving up hits. There's simply no reason for him to. And that's exactly why, even in a game like today, he can hold the damage to just one earned run. This isn't just talent. It's a meticulously designed way of thinking. And because he lives that design every single day, Shohei Ohtani can step on the mound in any situation with the exact same face. When October comes, when everything is on the line, who do you trust with the ball? The answer feels obvious. Even on an off day, with shaky command and even an error, he still held on to the best ERA in the National League. If that's not legendary, what is? A World Series three-peat, a Cy Young Award. All of it is built on days like this, days when he refused to break. Because in October, the pitcher still standing at the end isn't the one who dominates on his best days. It's the one who doesn't fall apart on his worst. And Shohei Ohtani is exactly that pitcher.
Thanks for watching all the way through. What did you think? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we continue to follow Shohei Ohtani's incredible journey. See you in the next one.